welcome to Well with Mika, where we talk real wellness for your real life. And today we're talking about something that might just change the way you think about your body and your day. And that is movement, the kind that you already do. Not at the gym, not in workout clothes, just real life, everyday movement that counts even if you don't always count it. All right, let's get into it. We've been taught, or maybe even sold, this idea that exercise only counts when it happens in a gym, on a mat, on a schedule, through an app with a label. And I want you to question that. What if you're already more active than you think? And the way you think about your movement is actually the missing link. I know that sounds a little crazy, but let's talk about why, all right? There are two books that really brought this idea to even talk about this topic to mind. One is Exercised by Daniel Lieberman. He's a Harvard professor who studied movement in indigenous communities. Now, he found that people who live in traditional societies, they don't work out. They just move. They walk, they squat, they lift, they carry, they dance, and that's all part of their lives. And they're healthy, they're strong, they're not stressed out and struggling with the same diseases as we do in Western societies. And yes, of course, nutrition plays a huge role in that. But for this episode, we're talking about the movement, which is also a huge role, which also plays a huge part. Now, and of course, they rest, but their movement it's not a constant thing. It's not something they have to try to do. It's purposeful, all right? And it doesn't come from the gym. And in other parts of the world, they're not heavy gym goers. They just walk. It's built into their daily lives. So now the second book that brought this to mind was The Joy of Movement by Kelly McGonigal. Now she explores how movement helps to reduce anxiety, fight depression, and connect us to each other. Now, three things that we are struggling with in society: anxiety, depression, and which of course both tie into connection. And what stood out most to me was how simple that movement can be. I mean, we know this, but sometimes it gets lost. A walk with a neighbor, dancing while you clean, stretching after a long day. It's not about performance. It's just about presence. It's about being present with your movement. And while I don't always use the word joy, what we're really talking about is release. It's reclaiming movement on your terms, not needing to be tied to the idea that movement only happens in the gym or movement only happens when it's this scheduled exercise thing. That's happened as a result of society, right? So here's my theory. The theory is, or a theory, I'm sure I'm not the one that came up with this, is that shift toward more knowledge work, desk jobs, screens, meetings, and away from hands-on trade, farming, vocational type of work, we all started to outsource our movement, right? So we made it something separate. That's what I mean. It's like our movement was no longer built into our days as something that we had to find time to do. So it's I sit all day, so now I have to make time like an hour to go and quote unquote exercise, add in the idea of organized sports for our kids, expensive gym memberships, wearable tech, and suddenly, if it doesn't look a certain way, then we assume it doesn't count, right? It's like if you can't say, "Oh, I go to this gym and I do this thing," or "I'm in this program," then you don't feel like it counts. And I just want you to know how wrong that is. Not only is it wrong, it's exhausting, and it's no wonder so many people feel guilty, overwhelmed, or just completely disconnected from exercise. So here's why the mindset shift, it matters. And something powerful is the way you think about your movement matters. I don't know if you've heard about this study, but there's an older study now called the Hotel Maid Study, and two groups doing the exact same work. All right. Well, one group was told that their job involved enough physical activity to meet their exercise guidelines, right? The exercise guidelines, while the other wasn't given that information. Now, even though both groups worked the same time, the same amount of time doing the same work, the group that viewed their job as exercise showed better health outcomes. When I talk about health outcomes, I'm talking lower blood pressure, weight loss, improved body fat percentage, simply from how they thought about what they were already doing. And now this also has happened in terms of nutrition when somebody was told that what they're eating or drinking is the worst thing for them versus the same exact thing they were told it's good for them, their body responded differently. And I'm not saying mindset is everything, but this effect shows that it absolutely shapes how our bodies respond. And not just that, but when you think about your everyday movements as as counting towards exercise, you'll probably be more inclined to do it with more intention, more purpose, and that is also going to add to the better health outcomes. So today's invitation is a simple one. I just want you to start recognizing and reclaiming the movement that you already do. Bending, lifting, stretching, walking, chasing those kids, dancing while you clean, all of it counts. When you start stacking those natural movements with more intention, they begin to add up in ways that actually support your health and without all the stress of having to, okay, I'm going to the gym, so I need to plan out this. It just takes away a little bit of the stress. And no, I am not saying that you should stop working out or give up on structured exercise and going to the gym if you love it and it's working for you. Carving out dedicated time for workouts is still important and valuable. This is about expanding the space, not just in your schedule, but your mind, seeing your opportunities to move seamlessly, naturally, and sustainably through your real everyday life, and maybe just designing your life to make it easier to add in more movement naturally. So, small choices, they matter. Like I said, walking the kids to school or the bus stop when possible. The old advice to choose the stairs instead of the elevator, parking further away from whatever store you need to get into, stretching while you're on a call, or just sitting on the floor. If you work from home and you're on meetings, you're not on video, or even if you are on video, sit down on the floor instead of sitting on a chair. Carrying your groceries with a little extra intention, adding an extra bag to your hands so that you could, that'll be your strength training. It's not about the guilt, it's about opportunities. Okay, so your workout this week, your challenge is to notice the movement you already do and call it what you want, call it what it is, call it exercise. All right, but just notice that movement, give yourself the credit, and stack onto it wherever you can. All right, ask yourself, what's something I already do but haven't given myself credit for? And what would shift if I started seeing it as real exercise? What opportunities can I take to build more movement into my day? Those are some good questions to go into the week with. And if you want help personalizing this even more, check the show notes, book a free discovery appointment with me. We can work together to build something that fits your life. So as always, in closing, my sweethearts, your body's already working for you. It's your turn to work with it, not against it. All right? You already know I'm thankful to you for tuning in. So please stay well, beautiful people. And as always, happy health and peace.